Atomic Habits, Chapter 17, How an Accountability Partner Can Change Everything. James Clear starts off this chapter with a passage about Roger Fisher, who was a World War II pilot. After the bombs were dropped in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Fisher had an interesting idea about preventing a nuclear war in the future. I'll just go ahead and read this passage. My suggestion was quite simple, he wrote in 1981. Put that nuclear code number in a little capsule, and then implant that capsule right next to the heart of a volunteer. The volunteer would carry with him a big, heavy butcher knife as he accompanied the president. If ever the president wanted to fire nuclear weapons, the only way he could do so would be for him first, with his own hands, to kill one human being. The president says, George, I'm sorry, but tens of millions must die. He has to look at someone and realize what death is, what an innocent death is. Blood on the White House carpet. It's reality brought home. When I suggested this to friends in the Pentagon, they said, My God, that's terrible. Having to kill someone would distort the president's judgment. He might never push the button. And that's basically the whole point. The nuclear war should be extremely the last ditch effort. And no person, even the president, should just have the button right in front of them or the launch codes right in front of them. There should be extreme consequences or a massive punishment for doing something like killing millions of people. Moving on into the chapter, James Clear exclaims that we are unlikely to perform, or at least we are more likely to think deeper about a behavior if the experience or the ending of that behavior is painful. The more immediate and costly a mistake is, the faster you will learn from it. If you want to prevent bad habits, make the cost of doing them be immediately unsatisfying or even painful. One thing that he discusses in this chapter, the only thing really that he discusses in this chapter, are habit contracts, which make the experience or the outcome of performing a bad habit painful or not performing a good habit painful. Here's a passage. Just as governments use laws to hold citizens accountable, you can create a habit contract to hold yourself accountable. A habit contract is a verbal or written agreement in which you state your commitment to a particular habit and the punishment that will occur if you don't follow through. Then you find one or two people to act as your accountability partners and sign off on the contract with you. Even though this was the only concept discussed in this chapter, it's been one of the most profound. Let's say you want to perform a good habit, like for example, for me, I want to create a YouTube video every week. If I don't create that YouTube video, I could have some accountability partners, let's say two friends who are holding me accountable, asking at the end of the week, did you create a video? Or they could say, I looked at your channel, there's no new video. And uh, if that happens, then there needs to be some severe punishment or a bad experience that I have to go through to ensure that this doesn't happen again in the future. And some examples of this could be, and some of these I just came up on my own, and the others they were discussed in the book. And you can probably tell which ones I came up with because they're pretty wild, like getting tased. That I definitely came up with. It wasn't in the book. Um, these are some examples of what punishments you have to go through. Getting tased, as I mentioned, having to hold a plank for a certain amount of time, giving up watching TV or playing video games for a certain duration. So if you watch TV very often, that's your leisure activity, or if you like playing video games, you would know that if you can't play them for a certain amount of time, if you go on um, a break from them, it doesn't feel very good because that's for some people that's the only thing they do in their leisure time on their own. Another could be donating an uncomfortable amount of money to a friend or organization, or taking on chores of other people. Most of these are physical punishments, but there's also aspects of financial punishments that you could inhibit as part of your habit contract. Some other examples in the book, which I haven't written down here, were um, let's say a person wants to wake up at 5:30 a.m. in the morning, but they don't. A tweet is automatically sent on Twitter, or I don't even know what they call it anymore. But a tweet is automatically sent saying that it's past 5:30 a.m. I'm a lazy blah 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 blah. Um, the person has to manually turn that off every morning if they wake up on time. If they don't, then that tweet just goes out and people see it. So for people who are popular or who have some following to hold them accountable, this could be a pretty interesting implementation. Another thing in the tweet was that the first 5 people to respond to this tweet will get $5 each. So there you add a financial aspect in a more automated way. Um, I really don't have much for this chapter. This was really just the the main piece of it. There wasn't really much to it. I would only say it was only a few pages, but I am looking forward to chapter 18. And for now, this is it. So thank you and have a nice day.